All right. Well, for some reason, we have been live for the last 3 minutes, but I have been unable to find out that we were live. So, welcome to the program. This has been I would say, the worst intro that I've ever had because I actually switched positions to a better spot where the internet was going to be better for me. Apparently, according to the information, when I moved everything around and just now, I didn't think we were broadcasting, but apparently we were. So without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, my name is unfortunately tonight Alan Smason, and you've been watching what was supposed to be NOLA Theater Talk, but hopefully it's going to get better than that. And I've already got in the room with me, ladies first, we've got Shannon Flaherty and Christopher Kaminstein. And if you will notice, ladies and gentlemen, our brand up in the upper right-hand corner, Goat in the Road Productions is here with us tonight. Goat in the Road is in the house. So let us just say, although we don't have great production values all the time, we at least have the goat. So
yeah, that's important.
That graphic looks great.
Yeah. And for people who don't know what a goat is, now you can see what one looks like.
Well, now there is the goat, and there is the greatest of all time goat too, which of course for the time being we have to go to Drew Brees.
Oh, Drew Brees, thank you.
Yes. In any event, I want to welcome you on the program again. Goat in the Road Productions. I've got a whole slew of stuff that I wanted to talk about, and I'm sorry that the first 3 minutes or so of our broadcast was a little bit less than spectacular. But in any event, we're here tonight. We're going to talk about Goat in the Road, and I'm going to issue a public apology to Goat in the Road because in the course of doing things over a very short period of time that I have, and just again, my fault, mea culpa. But in trying to look back at last year with everything going on with the COVID, et cetera, for some reason, The Uninvited, which is one of the most spectacular productions that happened last year, did not make my list because I had to come up with a list, and I started looking around. And I think part of the problem was, in my own mind, I went looking, I said, well, what did Le Petit do? What did Rivertown do? And I wasn't thinking, oh, yeah, Goat in the Road did The Uninvited at the Gallier House, which might have been the best venue of any of all of the theaters because it was the story of the Gallier family taking place on the very property where I think this historical, so let's just say the historical events took place, right?
Yeah, somewhat. I mean, we extrapolated, but it is right next door to where that integrated school was and where the history happened. So,
again, I want to show some pictures from all the productions that you've got, and you've got plenty. But before we start talking about them, again, it was just my fault that I left it out, and it should have not been left out. And it was just a matter of you can only get so many things in, so many pictures in, and it was off my radar, and it should not have been, and I should never ever do that. But I think part of the problem is that I also really wanted to see that thing go on, and it started off. I think it was supposed to only have a run of 6 weeks or so max, 4 weeks, something like that, and you just kept extending it, and it probably would have been extended into May or June had it not been the COVID outbreak.
Yeah, that's correct. That was our dream, but as with so many things last year, other plans got in the way. So,
so first off, how are you all doing? Are you okay? I mean, everybody in the cast that was in that, everybody in your group is fine. Nobody's had any difficulties.
Yeah, everyone's safe and well.
Good, because I think about some of the casts on Broadway, for instance, as an example, Moulin Rouge. They were decimated. I mean, they Danny Burstein had a very close run in. If he hadn't walked over to the hospital, he might have had a terrible time. They actually had to put him on a respirator for him to be able, ventilator for him to be able to breathe.
That's right.
But a lot of people who were involved in the cast ended up coming down with it, and I find that there are a number of people who have obviously we've lost people like Carol Sutton who expired, but we've also had people come through it like Troy Poplis who've been very strong and able to withstand the effects. But but they said it was a long, hard battle, and I do appreciate the fact that they're here with us still.
Yeah, that Carol Sutton was so sad. I mean, she was not only the most remarkable performer I've ever seen on stage in New Orleans, but such an important figure in the city. So that was really hard. That was a hard. And Sherry Marina passing.
Yeah, I was going to say Sherry. We worked with Sherry a lot over the years and going the road, and then also in Cripple Creek, and that was a huge loss, and so sad personally and for the theater world.
And I wouldn't leave Sherry out either. You know, again, she was another person who represented the equity union, Actors Equity, and she'd been on our show. You know, Carol had been promising she was going to be on, but I told her, wait till you get stronger, and then you can have the whole hour. We're going to have a whole hour dedicated just to her, just to talk to her about, you know, her work. But it's just one of those things that got away from me, and unfortunately, you know, I would have felt bad had I, you know, said you got to come on, and when she didn't feel well. So I really wanted to give her that time, but it's just one of those things. Hopefully, this is the worst of it, and we don't have to worry about you know, anything else. Well, first off, I'm going to find out before we get into all the rest of it. And so we're behind. I've got to go grab mine. But Chris, why don't you first off tell me what you've got in to bring in for a drink tonight?
I've got some Chuck Pills. This is from Parleau Beer Labs, which is right around the corner from me in the Bywater. This is a can that they make themselves at Parleau. This is free advertising. I wasn't paid for this. Delicious. If you want some beer in your life.
All right, and I guess Shannon, it's your turn now. I'm going to ask you to take a little bit of time in explaining what it is. What is it you got?
Oh, okay. I don't know if I can explain this, but it is a LaCroix. It is the pumpkin flavor. So it's sparkling water. If there are anybody out there who has not had LaCroix,
I thought you were going to have something that you could really tell us how you mix it.
I know. I should have had something more exciting, but I'm on the no drinking January, so I got kind of a boring drink for tonight. But I saw you mixing something, Alan, so I'm really excited to see.
I know. Unfortunately, I left it in the other room back when I was. So I'm gonna have to go grab it. When one of you starts talking, I'm gonna make a dash for it real quick. But I'll tell you in advance, it's a Ramos Gin Fizz, and I thought about it because the Sazerac is the oldest cocktail, but the Ramos Gin Fizz is again probably the second most famous cocktail to come out of New Orleans. And if you ever get a chance to go over to Revel when they reopen, hopefully, God willing, they reopen. Chris McMillan there really makes a very fine Ramos Gin Fizz, and he sticks to the old recipe where he actually takes 2 minutes almost just to shake it up. I actually took a little time off the clock today because I was trying to get our broadcast up, and you know, it's just the best things, you know, best laid plans, so to speak. You know, man plans and God laughs. So in any event, but I'll bring it out and I'll show it to you. One of the things is that you know, it's made, for those of you who don't know, it's lemon and lime. Heavy cream, some powdered sugar, 2 tablespoons. I like them hefty and you know, overloaded because I like a sweet drink from time to time. With this one, an egg white, 3 or 4 drops of orange flower water, and then I do a dry shake without ice. Then I take it out and put the ice in, shake it up, and then pour it into a tall glass, and then add the fizz part of it is the Schweppes, if you will, the club soda that goes in afterwards, and then it should rise. If you do it right and it's thick enough, it'll actually lip over the glass about that much. And so you have the you know, but again, you got to shake it far enough that the egg actually, you know, kind of makes it a nice stiff drink for you. And if you don't do it, then it's sort of a little bit less fluffy, so to speak.
It sounds
so Huey P. Long's drink, right?
Huey P. Long used to love drinking them. Now, again, the ones that they made over at the Roosevelt Hotel were about that size. The kind I make are about that size. So you can imagine. I've got 9 ounces. I think the ones over at the Fairmont, at the Roosevelt, when he was there. Now again, the Roosevelt was probably close to about 5 ounces or so. Wasn't quite as much as 6. But again, they're wonderful drinks to have. So let me go on and let me see if I can mention the fact that we've got a couple people out there who are making some comments. I'm trying to see if I can get any comments that are out there. I guess that's love. That's a love comment. So we'll show that one. Anybody out there who wants to put their name out on that, if you just go to StreamYard.com/Facebook, that's StreamYard.com/Facebook, you can actually post your name. And other than that, it's going to say a Facebook user. So give me a little bit of a history of Goat in the Road. How long have you been together now? Shannon, why don't you start off with that one?
Sure. Well, the company was founded in 2008. So this is going to be, in September, will be 13 years old. And Chris and I actually aren't either of the original founders. It was founded by Will Bowling and Rachel Carrico. Will is in our ensemble, and Rachel is now on our board. And yeah, that was the beginning of the company, the two of them founding it. We came on soon after in 2009. And some of our earliest works were, we did a collaboration with Cripple Creek Theater Company called Major Swelling Salvation Salve back in 2010 or so. And Chris and Will also did some two-man shows in our early years. Probably the most well-known one of those is called Our Man, kind of about how we build up our political heroes and then tear them down. We also started Playwright, which is our educational program, in 2010 as well. And Playwright still exists today. We go into schools and we work with 5th and 6th grade students, teaching them theater and having them write plays. And then at the end of the program, we have professional actors, different theater companies all over the city that perform the plays for the students. So
right. And I think that's really wonderful of you guys to do. First off, not many companies will dedicate themselves to the young upcoming people who are maybe interested in theater, maybe don't know that they have talent, and you nurture them. You actually give them an opportunity to showcase their work, which is incredible. You know, I don't know of anybody else who does that, although I'm sure you get a little bit of help from some of the other people from some of the other companies, don't you, from time to time?
Well, the culminating event of the Playwright program is this performance, and we definitely rely on help from, oh, there it is. That looks good. Mm-hmm. We rely on, a bunch of other companies around town. Last year we worked with No Dream Deferred, the Radical Buffoons. We worked with NOLA Project before, Vagabond Inventions. Even some of our ensemble members have staged the work. So with the teaching part of the program is done by Chris, myself, and then our education director, Mary Gutierrez. But then, the culminating event is it's really a fun showcase of like New Orleans theater in general. So a really celebratory event.
And again, the Playwright, it's spelled Playwrite, right? Mm-hmm. So again, people who are interested in finding out more about that, it's what, on your website, that if they're interested. Are you going to be doing it? I assume you're going to be doing it again with COVID, probably socially distanced, but you'll probably be doing it with COVID, right?
Yeah, last year we did our showcase, which always happens in May. We did it virtually, which basically meant that the theater companies found creative ways to record themselves either over Zoom or using puppets, or actually Radical Buffoons had this really amazing play where they had one actor playing all of the different roles in the play. So really creative interpretations of the kids' work. That was last May, and we're going to probably have to do that again this May. The event, in the future will be at UNO, at their Robert E. Nims Theater, but probably this year it will be same type of thing, a virtual event, unfortunately.
And again, I'd like to go back before we get into some of the other productions you've done, and we're going to go into role play, and we're going to go into The Stranger Disease, and what was it? A Stranger to Myself. Was that the other one that you've done recently?
Foreign to Myself.
Foreign to Myself. But let me go back again and show everybody a little bit of what you did at the Gallier House. That was so fantastic. And again, this is the characters that you all represented, who represented the servants if you will, and I believe also a teacher at the school next door, right? Who was there, and so you had
and another character who is a newspaperman,
right,
and
right.
a
He's
businessman.
there in the back there. He's got the pad there, and the idea being that you had two different tracks. You could follow the servants, the if you will, the blacks who were there and in the house, and then you could follow the whites and follow them, and they intersected at various times. That they would all be in the same room, etc. And so it was very much akin to what the NOLA project did several years ago with the Alice in Wonderland piece, where they would have one group that was stationary, one group that was the blue group, and one group was the red group, and they would move around. You'd either move with one group or you'd stay stationary. In this particular case, I guess you could stick around in the room if you wanted to, and just let people come to you, or you could follow people around, which is what I chose to do. I went through it twice. I thought it was really wonderful. Now this is again one group. This is I think you're in the back there, aren't you, Shannon?
Yep. Yeah, playing Mrs. Gallier, sitting back there. This is a scene in which there's a suitor who is trying to woo one of my daughters, and he's not doing a very good job, but I'm really hoping it's going to work out.
Yeah, and again, I believe he was Irish and looked down upon by Ian, Ian's character. There's Ian, and I mean, he had some pretty unkind words to say to him, pretty much derogatory, all the worst things you could probably call somebody who was Irish. And there's the front view. Just really wonderful work. Who did the costumes, by the way?
Casey Thomasy, who's one of the Goat in the Road ensemble members and runs the shop and teaches over at Loyola now. And Casey's an amazing, very sharp costume designer.
Casey Thomasy Allegra, correct?
Correct, yes.
They did get married after all. It was a while, but anyway, I guess professionally she'll still go by her maiden name. But
I haven't heard what she's doing for that. I don't know, but yeah, we'll see.
Well, maybe they can surprise us. AJ knows how to call me and let me know. In any event, very interesting. Just as a side note, one night I was attending a carnival ball, and it turns out that Casey's parents, in-laws, sold their original home to Manuel Ponce, who's a good friend of mine, who designs many of the Carnival Cruise floats. He designed Rex until this past year, and still does Babylon, and he does Endymion and Orpheus and a whole slew of other Iris, etc. So he's a good friend of mine, and it turned out that they're cousins or something. And in any event, I just ran in, and they mentioned, since I mentioned I was in theater, I like a lot of theater, etc. They mentioned, maybe you know our daughter. Do I know your daughter? Really? I know your future son-in-law too. So turned out pretty well.
Just to add about Casey, she made the majority, especially the women's costumes, completely from scratch. Really amazing pieces, and not just like the outer pieces, but the under. We had corsets, and we had like the pants, and my costume was like multiple layers. So it was really pretty remarkable, and I feel like it paid off. In we would hear comments about the costumes all the time. So,
well, I have to say, Veronica Russell also did some wonderful costume work, years ago that she was noted for, and she did a lot of the same things. She was meticulously, sewing buttons and things to make them more emblematic of the period. I mean, she would strip things down and redo them and things. Really impressive work. So I think Casey's work is on that same par. Wonderful stuff. And again, you're very lucky to have her. Again, when I can see that kind of work going on, I take notice, and I hope that other people will take notice too, because it's not something that you just sort of put together and hopefully you'll just wing it. That is very, very involved work, and you all do a wonderful job. I've got the Stranger Disease. I'm going to show some of the photos of what you did with that as well, which also were period costumes, and fantastic work that I'm assuming Casey was responsible for those as well.
No, not that was in Casey. Actually, that was Hope Bennett.
Okay, well then I want to give a shout out to her as well because again, I thought that really great work. And when you can see these kind of costumes on display, you know, you can tell that they've been really well researched, etc. Let me go ahead and show the first of these if I can.
And Alan, real quick, can I just name the people who
and
are
you can
in
maybe
the uninvited?
give me some background on it. See if I can get this first one up. This is again reminds me a little bit of. Sure, absolutely.
Sorry, having a little trouble hearing you, but
I'll
just
pull
to
that,
name the people in the uninvited photos.
that
Since
picture
these,
back then.
and then we can tell you a little
People
bit about the
freezing up
stranger
again,
disease.
unfortunately.
Yeah, we're having a little trouble hearing you.
Hopefully, you all right?
Sorry, can you hear us here?
I can hear you, Chris.
We
Okay.
are hearing trouble, and I can't tell if the picture's up or down now. So if the picture's blocking you, I can see you, but you may not see me. So I can't tell if the picture's up or not right now. It should have a blue frame.
Yeah, the stranger disease picture is up.
Just have to wing it. May just have to wing it.
Well, that we can talk about.
Now I can see the picture. Okay. So this is from I've never not heard you, Chris. It's just my video might be freezing.
Okay. Well, let me tell you a little bit about the uninvited.
In any event, this was from Stranger to Myself. That's April Louise back there, right? On the right?
And Denise Frazier. And then the folks in the uninvited photo, because they came up and built their roles for that show.
I can't tell. All right.
April Louise, Jessica Lozano, Brian Eagland, and also in that photo was Tanaj Jackson. And those folks had built the parts that they eventually played, helped write the pieces of the show as well, which is the same way that we worked for the Stranger Disease, which is Denise and April were creative elements of that process.
The other photo from the uninvited that I was in had Darcy Fulcher, myself, Grace Kennedy, and Dylan
Go ahead.
Hunter. And
talk
then,
about
of
who
course, Ian
you want
was
to
in the show.
Talk about. Go ahead.
Okay, we can talk about the Stranger Disease a little bit. The Stranger Disease was built in 2018. We built it at Madame John's Legacy, which is a historic home in New Orleans on Dumaine Street. Sorry, we're off sync here.
When the internet cuts out, it really does.
We can tell you a little bit about the Stranger Disease. The Stranger Disease was built in 2018. We did it at Madame John's Legacy, which is on Domaine and Royal Street in the French Quarter, and it's owned by the Louisiana State Museum. It's one of their historic homes. And the idea for that show was we were looking at 1878 New Orleans life, and especially the 1878 yellow fever outbreak at the end.
Are we still with you or not? I think we're just experiencing something.
Yeah, can you hear us?
Chris? Let's just be, you'll hear us. I'm not interrupting you, hopefully.
I'm here.
Come back in.
Okay, we'll see you in a minute.
How about now? Can we hear each other?
I can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Seems like it might be a little better.
We can hear you now, Alan. Are you with us?
There's two of me now.
Double trouble.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hopefully you can hear me.
We can hear you. You can keep talking about the stranger disease if you want, Chris. I'm curious to know what happened in it.
You want to know how it ended?
You ready?
Yeah.
Are we back? All right. Okay, I'm back. Maybe. Am I back?
We can hear you.
All right. I'm about to change out my modem, and I was trying to do it before we had our broadcast tonight, but the modem is ready to be changed over. I was afraid to do it while I was still trying to get my other stuff up tonight, so apologies. Hopefully this won't happen again. We'll just talk, and if people want to put up with the loss, then we'll put up with the loss, and we'll just try to edit it as best we can at a later date. In the meantime, you were about to talk about the people in the uninvited, and I apologize, but why don't you go ahead and say it again so I can hear the names.
Yeah, the people in the uninvited, the pictures you saw, most of them are cast members who were people who helped create the parts that they were playing. And that included in that first picture, Tanash Jackson, Jessica Lozano, Brian Eaglin, and April Louise. And then in the second picture, you saw Shannon, of course, Grace Kennedy, Dylan Hunter, Darcy Fulcher. And then you also saw Ian Hoke in one of those pictures. And the reason I named them is just because those people not only are people who act in the shows, but they help create the parts that they're performing in. It's a very ensemble project, and the idea is to try to put a focus on maybe parts of that time period that wouldn't normally be seen, and especially the life of people in all sorts of different social classes.
Right. And that was I thought really important. I'm going to try. You know what happened was I had shown those pictures before, and you've got about 24 pictures or so that we're trying to show tonight. So I actually, in order to make way for the other show pictures, I already deleted those. When you say the first picture, now I'll have to go back and show the first picture again, so people will see it again. Now tell me again who you want to talk about. There's Lozano.
Tanash Jackson,
I think April Louise is there, maybe. Okay. And then you mentioned again the second picture, which I'm going to show now, which is this one coming up, which was the picture that I was talking to Shannon about. And she's in the background. And
You'll see
the other
her
ones?
and Darcy Fulcher in the background, and then Grace Kennedy and Dylan Hunter in the foreground.
Okay. And then, of course, you mentioned Ian. I've got a picture that I'd shown earlier of Ian, which is him. Essentially, he's representing the White League that are there, and they're intent on closing down the schoolhouse that's next door that has the audacity to teach black children how to read and write, I guess, huh?
Well, it's a mixed race school. It's both people of color and white kids at the school. And I think, it's an interesting moment for that. A lot of what the White League was trying to do, you see resonance of it happening today and in January 6th in our Capitol. It's definitely a lot of resonance in terms of some of the Reconstruction era issues of white supremacy and white terrorism in our lives today.
Okay. So did we get everybody? The last picture there was of?
Yeah, that's Dylan Hunter.
And Jessica Lozano.
Yeah. Okay. So now we got all the pictures. Sorry about that. What I'd done was, as I said, in order to get enough room to be able to show the other ones, I deleted them. So now I've re-added them, and now I'm going to re-delete them while I'm talking to you, and then get back over to. I guess it was a stranger disease was the one we were going to do next, right? So let me let you. You can actually at this stage of the game, rather than wait for me to show the pictures, just jump on in and say who's in who the pictures.
This is April Louise and Denise Frazier. Shannon, do you want to talk a little bit about stranger disease?
Sure.
Now, April's on the.
Sure. Yeah.
This has to do with yellow fever, and but it also has to do with mixed race relationships, doesn't it?
Yeah, the story is based on an actual account of a relationship in historian Alicia P. Long's book, The Great Southern Babylon, between a woman who was actually, before the Civil War, a enslaved person, and then is freed during the war, and then her relationship, which spanned something like 30 years with a white man. Her name is Adeline Stringer, and his name was Joe Mathis. That's their historical names. And the man is played by Ian Hoke, as you can see him dipping April Louise in this picture. And the story of the stranger disease focuses around their relationship and the choices that they're forced to make when this yellow fever outbreak happens. Where a lot of times, or every time there was a yellow fever outbreak, people who had the means and the social status, would leave the city. And those who couldn't would stay. So these two are being torn apart by that reality in the summer of 1878.
Can you talk a little bit about the title, The Stranger Disease? Because it wasn't a stranger to New Orleans. So can you maybe explain a little bit about that?
Yellow fever was one of its nicknames. It obviously was called Yellow Jack and the Saffron Scourge, but it was also called the stranger's disease because it was thought that it came with strangers who were coming into the city on boats. New Orleans is a port city. There were a lot of people in and out, and especially people who were not acclimated to the disease, who hadn't had a case of it before, were more likely to pass away from it. So oftentimes it was immigrants, it was people who were just here, who were the people who the disease was most deadly for. And so it earned that nickname, the stranger's disease.
Yeah, and just to add to that, it's now we know it's caused by the mosquito, but
I'm switching the internet over because you keep dropping out, and I don't know if it's on me or not. We're going to try to see if it gets any better.
Okay.
So if you drop out, don't worry about it. I'm going to get you right back on in the room. You're hopefully not going to drop out long if that's the case. And let's just see, because I want to make sure I can hear you. I could only hear every other word. Let's just see if we can get you back in. This should be a more direct connection. So let's just see what happens. All right. Again, this might be the worst technical experience we've had for the show, but I'm going to get on top of StreamYard and yell at them, but figure out why.
Is he gone for you too?
Yeah, not sure.
Yeah.
I think we're still on.
Okay. Hello, everyone.
This should do it. This should do it, though. All right.
Great.
I think we're not going to have any more problems because I've gone to straight Ethernet now, and there should be. I could not hear what you were saying. Every other word was, so I couldn't. I can't carry on a conversation unless I can hear with you, unless you want me to pretend. So let's just try it again. You were saying that the stranger disease was a nickname for yellow fever among many. Is that what you were essentially saying?
Yeah, exactly. And the reason it was that nickname is because it was especially deadly for people who were immigrants, people who had just come to the city. And so it earned that nickname, the stranger's disease, because it was especially deadly for strangers to the city.
And I think there was a lot of misunderstandings. Obviously, they didn't discover that it was the mosquito until the 20th century, that's what caused it. And so I think there's also like a fair amount of phobia of newcomers and immigrants and feeling like they're bringing this disease to the city.
Yeah. Well, I'm not quite sure when they came up with the cure. I know that I remember seeing a movie, and of course, Hollywood is not necessarily the best storyteller because they change things up. And there was a fellow by the name of Samuel Mudd, who was one of the people who was one of the conspirators that was convicted in the assassination of Abraham Lincoln. And he had apparently gone off to wherever they were, maybe it was the Panama Canal or someplace where they were having a lot of problems with yellow fever, mosquitoes, and things of that sort. And he apparently came up, or at least was responsible for at least a portion of the cure that they came up with, which might have been quinine or something along those lines for yellow fever. And I like I said, I don't ever believe history according to Hollywood, but in that particular case, I would say that it probably was late 19th century, maybe not early 19th century, but I want to, because the Panama Canal was what, about 1904? So, and they built it for a while. Yeah. So somewhere around maybe the turn of the century. It could have been a little bit before or whatever, but I agree. It was definitely not early in the 1840s or 1850s, because we had probably the last major outbreak of yellow fever, about 1880 something. That might have been about the last one that we had.
Yeah, so, I think there was another one in the early 20th century, but yeah.
Major is, might not have been as bad. In any event, it seems like, thank God, that we can talk about it now. We know what caused it, et cetera. But just like back in the old days, they called malaria. Malaria means bad air, essentially, and it had nothing to do with bad air. It was, but that was what they tried to blame it on.
I believe back at the for yellow fever, they thought it was similar. They would call it the miasma that was coming from the swamp and like enveloping the city. Same kind of thing with the bad air. Okay.
All right. So let me get back to stranger disease. Tell me a little bit about this. Is again Jessica and you, and what's the story behind that picture?
So in this picture, in the stranger disease, I played Irish immigrant who was the servant of one of the German immigrants who had become a businessman. I was his servant, and Jessica plays a shop owner. She runs a hat shop, so she feels a lot of pressure, just like businesses now with COVID, where does she close? Does she leave? What does she do? She's going to lose all this business, and my character is dreaming of buying a hat and being something above her class. Really wants to be a lady, and so this is Jessica's character is actually trying to convince me to purchase this hat that I probably cannot afford in this moment. So this is a fun scene.
Why not? And here's another again, the costumes are really nice. Here's another one with period costumes, Ian and Keith Clavery. Now,
yeah, we love working with Keith. He was amazing in this role. He played Ian is the main character, is in the relationship with April Louise's character, and Keith plays Ian's brother in this, who is much more conservative, doesn't approve of the relationship, and wants Ian and him to leave the city together without Ian's partner, played by April. So he's trying to convince him to go. And Ian's kind of like a happy-go-lucky kind. He thinks, oh, this is not a big deal. I'm going to be fine. Of course, that's always the person that gets it the worst. So
now this is
Denise Frazier.
And what's the part she plays?
Denise plays an amazing part that she helped build, named Carlota, who was a Cuban immigrant who was trying to get out of the city for yellow fever. And Denise is one of the main ensemble members in Goat in the Road, and an amazing musician and scholar. And helped build this show. Right.
So I think I have one last shot, if I'm not mistaken, which is one of Jessica and Ian and Kyrie. Yeah, Kyrie.
Who directed Harry and the Thief right before COVID as well. And Kyrie plays Saul, who's in our version the brother of Adeline, the main character. And they're in this hat shop that was designed by Owen Ever, who's one of the designers in our world.
Yeah, and we should also mention that Owen and Kyoko also helped write both of these shows, The Uninvited and The Stranger Disease. And Kyoko McCrae, who is amazing, and Chris directed both of these pieces.
So again, hats off to Ian and April Louise. And again, I met April before she was a member of your company, because April was one of the Stage Door Idol winners. I want to say maybe 2015 or so. Mm-hmm. Is that possible?
Amazing.
Something like that. And I think it was right before Spencer Rocca won. Or maybe Molly Besh won, and then Spencer. I can't remember. Maybe Molly won after. But they sort of get jumbled up, unfortunately. But she definitely was a Stage Door Idol winner, and I remember she wore, like, if I'm not mistaken, an orchid in her hair and a purple dress of some sort. She, really got decked out. That's a wonderful, wonderful show, and I hope that we get a chance to see them come back, because of so many of the performances that that really change people's lives in terms of what they are able to do. So I want to get into a couple of the other things that you've done. Role play, for instance. Maybe you can tell me a little bit about what was role play, and what year was role play done?
2019.
Okay, so it was the year before Uninvited.
That's correct. Yeah, it was done that fall, and The Uninvited opened in January of 2020.
Okay, so what was the I guess you might say the genesis of role play? How did it develop? Because it's an ensemble piece of some sort that has a lot of different working parts, right?
Yeah, a lot of the work that Goat in the Road does is we make partnerships and develop partnerships with other institutions and companies and artists. And there was a few people at Tulane who were doing work around the issue of sexual assault on campus. In particular, our company member, Darcy Fulcher, who's an acting teacher, Katie Matthews, who's a documentary filmmaker, and Jenny Mercine, who teaches in the theater department there. And they and us sort of teamed up to build this show with an amazing group of Tulane students. We, over the course of the year, did devising and writing and the character development, and then premiered an original piece written and built by the students in the fall of 2019. And the idea was that the show should speak specifically to that community, and really talk about something that the community was going through and an issue that they were trying to contend with. Katie Matthews.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. If memory serves, you based the show on a survey that was taken at Tulane about sexual, inappropriate sexual.
The pervasive rates of sexual assault on campus.
Assault, I guess that might be it. Inappropriate sexual interaction, or I hesitate to say anything as dastardly as rape, but uninvited.
I think that's a huge part of it too. Yeah.
But again, yeah. So you took the survey and then you based it on that which is a fascinating concept that you took. But the survey by its nature was anonymous, wasn't it?
Yeah, this was a study done by Tulane of its own student body that, separate than our work, that had come out, I think in 2018, is that right, Chris? So when the survey came out and the rates of sexual assault on campus were pretty high, they were higher than people expected, the student body and the administrator, the whole campus was really upset about it. And so, our play was one of the responses that came out of kind of that, that phenomenon, the recognition that was happening on Tulane's campus and what can be done about that. There's a lot of different levels at which they're working to address that, but this was kind of one way that, like Chris said, we worked with a bunch of students. So it's really the students getting to talk about how they feel about their campus and what's happening there socially. And if the show really did cover not just sexual assault as well, there were some other issues that came up for students in terms of problematic things that were happening on campus culture that they really wanted to talk about. And those wove their way into the show as well.
Yeah, I guess by the nature, when I say anonymous, a lot of times the surveys are don't have names, don't have any kind of a history. They basically just give information, and you have to glean from that, the backstories. And so I assume that there was a lot of imagining that was going on, and the backstories that were being, I'd say, constructed more than anything else.
That's correct.
To tell your story. Now, do you remember any of these actors? These are all Tulane students, or?
Oh yeah, we remember. We worked with these kids for, I shouldn't say kids, they're amazing students, young adults, for about a year and a half. So, they're really great. In this picture, we have Ross Brill, we have Miranda Kramer, we have Grace Gragnard, we have, now I'm like, oh wait, help me out here, Chris, these last two actors here.
Yeah, we have Haley Mazzaccio. We also, let me see, I'm trying to get the picture up here. Oh yeah, I'm seeing it now. We've got, Najel LeBoyd.
So did it cover all kinds of role playing, etc.? All different genders and different preferences, etc.?
Yeah, I mean, it covers a wide range of different student experiences on campus, and that's the beauty of what the students did in this show, was that they were able to use this experiences of their time at Tulane, or the experiences that they knew from their friends that were to become part of the world.
That's
and this is Najel LeBoyd and CJ Hunt. No, not CJ Hunt. Sorry,
CJ Briggs.
CJ Briggs. Thanks. Yeah, I mean, in some ways, it's not, it's not the same style as Stranger Disease or Uninvited, which are immersive pieces, meaning you can go follow the actors and wander through the space. As you can see, this was we had the stage in the middle of the set of the playing space here. So you are stationary while you watch it, but it is similar in the way that you see a lot of different characters' storylines throughout the piece, and can kind of follow different experiences. So like Chris said, a lot of the different students' experiences are embodied in this, in the production.
Well, again, for anybody who didn't know, this was again I guess you might say a product of your imagination and collective working with other outside people from your Goat in the Road productions, as well as at Tulane, and it's amazing that you're able to put these things together. I know that we have a couple other shows that I still want to go into as well, but you said this was a year and a half. So how do you start? When you start off the process, do you say this is going to take about a year and a half, and we got to make sure that there's no seniors here because you'll graduate before we get finished?
Yeah, that was a consideration we were thinking about. And yeah, we had said basically this is a long-term process. We're going to try to build a show from scratch with everyone building it together, and then it'll premiere the next year. So they auditioned and came onto the project in fall 2018, and then the project premiered in fall 2019.
So they understood that there was going to be a commitment. Now, any of those people not actors originally? Any of them just students who just wanted to be involved in the project, or were they all
some of them? Yeah, some of them are part of the theater department, and some of them are in other majors, and people who are just really interested in the subject matter and in dealing with something that was so important at the campus. All of them, I think, came with some performance experience, and they did a remarkable job.
Okay, and again, folks, we had some earlier problems with the internet. Hopefully, we're fixed now. And we're going to get to. I know that this is what the humankind.
This is called Kind Humankind with Aurora Nayland.
Yeah. Well, hold on a second. Now she is a fantastic musician in her own right, but this was done the year before role play.
Yeah, this was earlier in the spring. This was April 2019.
Okay, so
you see Alexis Marceau, Free for All, Tiff Lampson, and Aurora Nayland in there.
Now, I just don't think of her as an actor normally. I think of her doing stuff on stage, which is like hard to describe. But maybe you can tell me how you got her involved with the project.
Well, this is Aurora's is really the center of this project. Aurora came to us with an ask by the Contemporary Arts Center to do a concert of her work, of this album, Kind Humankind. And she approached us to collaborate with her in order to bring it to the stage visually. And so you can kind of think of it like a live album of Aurora's work with these other amazing musicians also participating. And the process that we worked on with them was a design process. And so we were able to help bring together an amazing group of designers to help bring visuals to the songs that were on that album by Aurora.
So again, a lot of looping and when she plays with herself, things of those. When I say she accompanies herself, and
yeah,
she'll get the ha 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 ha, almost like minimalistic kind of stuff that will happen, and then she accompanies herself and she harmonizes with herself. It's just amazing, that. And of course, I've seen other people do it, but I don't know how they do it. I don't know, it's all magic. It's all done, I know, with chips and it's all binary. So, it's not something that's magic in that regard. But for me, it's amazing that people can think like that and that they can, say, well, if I lay this down, it'll sound like this. And then I can take that and add to this layer and then add another, it's just like, oh, okay,
But we definitely had that experience working with Aurora because like Chris said, she had this album that she had already completed, and then we have these other amazing musicians there, and they have their own, they're musicians, and we usually do theater. So it was like, I think I've definitely felt the same way, where it was a lot of like, how do they do this? And kind of a smashing of the two, of theater and music together.
I mean, she's an amazing person. It's hard to understand, how she does it, but she does. And now, I guess, did she sort of do the same thing based on what her album was every night? That was basically live and had to redo it, or was it on tape or in some way? I mean, give me a little bit about the background on that. How did that work?
Yeah, they played live instruments, and then there was also some backtracks, and we did a sort of a mixture of both. A lot of what we were trying to do is create compelling visuals that kind of supported the music. And so we had a show that performed 3 times at the CAC, and there was a lot of live music, and then there was live singing throughout.
But the show was designed, the lights were designed by Josh Courtney, and the set was designed by Jebney Lewis, and the combo, and then we also had a lot of projection by Courtney Keller, and projection screens were a huge part of the design for it. So this show starts up close to the audience with these screens that then break apart to reveal more of the stage, and then break apart again to really reveal. We use the whole space of the CAC warehouse, all 100 plus feet of it. So this is kind of like stage 2 of this set, where you have like a little bit more space here, but even behind those screens, at one point those screens break away, and you can see the entirety of the CAC warehouse. I think there's another picture that we sent you that, if you don't have it, that's fine, but it's like a kind of a little box at the edge of the space, and that was so far away from the audience, where the performers end up kind of down at the end of the space. So we had a lot of fun with that huge warehouse space, and like, how do we utilize that and with the music to create this kind of expansive feeling that took place during the show.
Now, I want to give you another shout out. At the CAC, you were talking about the space that they have over there. This was, again, another piece that you did, which was Foreign to Myself, right? That was it was sort of an anti-war piece. It talked about the post-traumatic shock syndrome that soldiers went through when they returned after having been to war. And it was not just recent wars, although one of the main characters, I think, dealt with Afghanistan. But it also dealt with, if I'm not mistaken, that might have been World War I. Is that possible?
Yeah. That's a character from World War I, a real historical figure named Charles Whittlesey. And
then and again, I think that's back to the other one that I had. That was Kind Humankind. Let me see where the other one is. I think it's. Let me take that one off. I think that we had. Thought I had 3 pictures from Foreign to Myself that I was trying to find for you. Just one second. Let me see if I can locate it. But again, you got to deal with. Let's see, we had. Let's try this one. See if this one will open up. You had a real amazing group of characters. This might have been the one. This was the really effective use of the CAC. Look at that. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks so much.
No,
yeah,
I mean,
just to be 100% transparent, this is actually a picture from the remount that we did at UNO. So our original show,
that was UNO? Okay.
Yeah, which had like a very similar, basically the same set, was at the CAC, and then we did a remount that took place at UNO. But just in case anyone's like seeing it and being like, right. I recognize
but
that.
I remember seeing that and how it was a very really well done set design that you had. So again, I just assumed it was all from the same set. All right,
Thank you.
But anyway, yeah, great job. Tell me, we've been in a pandemic now for almost a year. In some cases, that's the time where everybody gets to get together and come up with a whole bunch more creative stuff. It's also the time where people says, I don't feel like it. I'm in the middle of a pandemic. I don't want to do anything. So what has it been for you? Has it been a combination of the two? Have you all sort of clamped down and said, while we're idle, let's plan some things for the next 2 years or so? Or have you just been in a holding pattern?
I think a combination of those two is pretty accurate. We had a couple shows that we had started working on before the pandemic that we are continuing to now lay plans for. Another immersive piece that we're hoping to do at a historic house that probably now will be a year or 2 from now. And then we also are working with a piece on a piece outside the city in Ocean Springs, Mississippi, that will be another immersive show. We also have been doing a lot of like internal work with the company of engaging in like a strategic planning process, which we've never done with everybody before. And we've done a bunch of like equity work and some equity trainings So it's the pause has been nice for us, and I mean it's been terrible, but we've gotten to do some stuff that I don't think we would have had an opportunity to do. As you can tell from our description of these shows, we've been doing almost 2 original shows a year. They each take, a year plus to make. So we've been quite busy and haven't really paused our work. And so this has given us a chance to do that and really check in with our board and ensemble, like, what kind of work are we making? What kind of work do we want to be making? How do we want to be structured, kind of thing, while still, getting ready to hopefully embark on some new projects once we can all be together again.
What's the story? Y'all depend a lot on I'm sure your board to help raise money for you, but what about grants? Do y'all depend a lot on grants to keep yourselves together?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we do a lot of applications for grants, and spend a lot of time cultivating those relationships. So our educational programming is funded by the NEA, in addition to the NOTA, New Orleans Theater Association.
Yeah.
It's funded by a variety of family foundations. And then for different pieces and shows, we'll apply to groups that might have a specific interest in that piece, whether that be some people who are interested in looking at veterans and homecoming, or people who are interested in looking in the history of New Orleans. And so a lot of our funding comes that way. And
again, we can expect to see more of what you've been doing. Grants are coming, that you're not going to be shortchanged this year because of the pandemic. There are people still writing grants for you.
We're finding out. I mean, the thing that this coming year, like Shannon said, everything's been pushed back a full year for us. And we're lucky in some ways. We're not a rep theater that is premiering 4 or 5 shows in a year. We're an ensemble company that's making original work. And so we're really making 1 new show a year, or sometimes 2. And so that entire process has just been pushed back a full year.
But we are also lucky in that, like Chris said, we have a pretty robust educational program. We have Playwright, but we also have, this year we've done some digital programs. We've done some smaller scale programs in new partner schools. So we've really been leaning into that. While we can't do our other theater work, we've been trying to do more education work. And, that's really, both of those, the education and the theater, are really important to our mission. And right now we're really getting to spend a lot of time, at least in the doing aspect of the education work. So we feel lucky that we have that to engage with students and to keep ourselves going this year.
You said this started in 2008, right?
Yes.
So, I mean, by my counting, we're talking about 12 or so years, a little bit over maybe. Where do you see yourself in another 10 years? Is it going to still be the same? Or you think you'll move into a different direction, or start cultivating more people to come in and start doing part of what you do, so that you can move on? Any ideas? Let me start with Shannon first.
Oh my goodness. I was hoping you were going to start with Chris, but I'll go first. I think we've definitely, the last 5 years, I would say, from our show Numb onward to now our immersive pieces, there's been a lot of change and growth. So, and those really came from people, from partnerships, from people reaching out to us and saying, we have a problem. We think theater might help us solve this problem, whether it's a historical museum or sexual assault at Tulane, or, we've been really responding to the community through our partnerships. And so I think that's something that we'll continue to do for a long time. It's really made our work stronger and feel more important, these partnerships. So, I anticipate that this is kind of the direction we'll be going for another couple of years. I don't know, 10 years, it's hard to think out that far, though. I mean, Chris, what would you say?
Well, yeah, Chris, you can go ahead. But I mean, who would have thought that maybe in 2008 you'd be talking to us about a production company still in 2021?
Yeah, I don't think we thought we'd still be around. I mean, in 10 years, I think if Elon Musk is able to get to the moon, we'll probably try to go up there and be the first theater company up there on the moon. But if that doesn't work out, which I think it will, but if it doesn't work out, I think our goal is to keep adapting. are interested in doing work, but only in as much as we're able to create original pieces that really matter to our community. And so we'll see. I could see us being around in 10 years, and I could see us morphing into something new and different.
Goat on the moon. I can't believe it. I can't wait. That'd be wonderful.
Yeah.
So
you heard it here first.
That's right. That's right. Again, I hope that whatever y'all want to do, works out. And again, I apologize for the problems we have with the internet and with the technical aspects of the show. But, I think we got a number of things in tonight. Again, congratulations to all that you have done and all that you will do. And again, I hope that we get a chance to see some of your pieces soon. The piece that you were talking about doing another piece at a historical place, would it be down in the quarter again, or would it be somewhere else? Down the quarter?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, all right. I got an idea where that might be. We'll have to see. We'll have to see.
Alan, thank you so much for having us. This was really fun.
Well,
Thanks for
except for the technical stuff, I apologize for. But yeah, and again, I just want you to know that my deepest apologies once again for neglecting to mention you. But you definitely took the cake last year. I thought that the Uninvited was just spectacular in all the aspects of it, what you did. And I know that it would be difficult to remount it now because it's been more than a year that you all had done it, and it probably won't happen again. But if you ever do, let me know, and I'll be more than happy to, issue a clarion call and let people know that it's coming back. But in any event, we are so happy that you were able to be here with us tonight again. Shannon Flaherty, thank you for being here. Stick around. I'm going to say goodnight to you privately as soon as I say goodnight to everybody else. So I'm going to remove you from the stream. Same thing, Chris. Just stick around for a little bit. And again, ladies and gentlemen, I want to remind you that I didn't get a chance to promote it, but on the 25th, a week from this week, it's going to be actually on Monday. We're going to have Sarah Zogby on, and she's going to be talking about mental health issues confronting not only the theater community, but all of us in the extended community in New Orleans. And of course, if the name sounds familiar, Sarah was very involved with Southern Rep. She was a social worker student at Loyola, but she's done a lot of work with theater. She knows theater in and out. She's great. She's going to talk about the effects on theater people, but she'll also talk about mental health as a social worker. And we'd invite your response and questions, etc. If you want to send anything out, just feel free to hit us up on the NOLA Theater Folk Facebook group, which is where we broadcast to, as well as on our theatercriticism.com Facebook page and my own YouTube channel. If you want to leave a comment on that, that'd be great. Again, my thanks to Sharon Flaherty and Christopher Kaminstein for being tonight and being part of our broadcast, representing Goat in the Road Productions. And again, Sarah Zogby on Monday. We'll take a night off for my mother's birthday coming up next Friday night. So I'll see you in February. And again, I'll see you at the theater.